The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Alessya Visnjic. Alessya is the CEO and co-founder at WhyLabs. Alessya, welcome to the show.
Thank you, JP. Really great to be here.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you. So, Alessya, let's start with a bit of background of yourself, please. Could you give us an overview of your journey in tech, particularly where you got first exposed to data science, some of the roles you've held along the way, and take us up to the idea behind WhyLabs?
I would love to. So my journey in tech, it started from me studying applied math because I was always fascinated with kind of the most low-level aspect of how a computer works. And after getting a degree in applied math and wanting to go get a PhD and potentially become a math researcher, I got dissuaded by my parents, who are engineers, and they were convinced that I need to actually create something and engineer something. So they convinced me to focus on CS and get my first job in engineering at Amazon. I spent 9 years total at Amazon, and the first half of my career, I was a software engineer developing continuous integration tools for Amazon's retail website, which was a really big deal back then in 2008. Amazon was really early on its adoption of developer best practices and what we today call the DevOps toolchain. The second part of my career, I spent in a machine learning organization that was developing AI applications to solve problems internal to the company. And my job there was, first of all, the first organization at a company that was focused on putting machine learning technology into production. So my job there was essentially the bridge between science, engineering, and the business. Fascinating job because we're shipping things like demand forecasting platforms that decide how to stock the warehouse for a quarter of all Amazon global SKUs. We're shipping recommender systems that powered customer experiences. We're shipping computer vision solutions and ultimately shipping AWS tools for building machine learning solutions. And all of that was done back in 2012 when the concept of machine learning in production was in very much of its infancy. Machine learning just came from academia. So my experience there was very fascinating, learning what it means to operate machine learning at the Amazon scale and at the Amazon quality bar, building a lot of early operational tools, the tools that today we call MLOps tools from scratch, carrying a pager for some of these deployments and learning a lot. So my passion for solving problems that we solve at WhyLabs today, the problems with operating machine learning and AI technology robustly and responsibly, that passion started back then at Amazon when I was solving those problems. And in 2017, it became pretty clear that AWS and GCP and Azure and other cloud companies are going to be successful at making it easy to build machine learning models. And once they're built and put to production, the main challenge that every practitioner would face is operating these models and operating these AI-powered applications. So I left Amazon with the vision to build these tools, to build a tool chain for operating machine learning and make it available to every practitioner. And I spent a few years at the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, which is a fundamental AI research institute here in Seattle, figuring out what this tool chain would look like and talking to countless data scientists at the time. And from that came WhyLabs. We are focused on building tools for data scientists and AI builders that would enable them to operate AI applications safely and responsibly.
Great background. Thank you for sharing that journey, and great to hear about the origins behind WhyLab as a business, where you started to see the opportunity in the market, and like many great entrepreneurs, seeing a need and deciding to be the one who provides that need. So you launched WhyLabs in November of 2019. Obviously an interesting time to launch a startup, but from previous conversations you and I have had, I'm happy to hear that things have gone really well. In fact, tell us a little bit about the early stages of the journey from when you first launched the business. What were some of the early milestones that you worked towards? And give us an idea of the current sort of climate for the business, how big you are as a company, and some of the projects that you're working on with your customers.
Launching an MLOps company at the end of 2019 is very fascinating from a few angles. First of all, MLOps as a category, which is where we're operating in today, didn't exist. MLOps as a term, I think, was coined later on in 2020. And today, the biggest MLOps community, I think, is over 60,000 people, which is incredible. But back then, all we talked about with practitioners was, what does it take to operate your precious machine learning application that took you many years to develop in production? And how do you realize the return on investment? And what pain points are you facing? And what are the things that your data scientists are spending days on instead of building more models and more applications? And fast forward to today, I think first of all, we have changed incredibly as a company, and also our entire market has matured and really got defined. So today, WhyLabs is an AI observability company, and that is very clearly defined. The reason we do observability is because after dozens, and actually at this point, hundreds of conversations with AI practitioners, we realized that most of the AI failures are actually caused by the lack of observability, because AI tends to fail very silently. And if you're not continuously watching it, and this process of watching should be as automated as possible, then your AI would be failing, affecting your customers negatively, and you might not even know if your customers are not very vocal. So that's what WhyLabs is focused on. And MLOps as a category really matured. So every practitioner today knows what MLOps is. How does it affect their day-to-day? There are new job families that are developed around this whole tool chain and a culture of machine learning operations. So I'm really, really excited to be here at this formative years of this entire industry.
Focusing now on some of the customer use applications for WhyLabs as a service, could you give us some insight into who you're helping? What do they come to you with? What are the sort of problems that you're being asked to help solve, whether it be from a company size, industry type, or most common struggles that you see from large organizations with their own internal machine learning problems or challenges?
Absolutely. So at WhyLabs, we enable enterprise data science and machine learning teams to prevent model failures and ultimately improve the models that they're running in production. And the way we do it is we help automate the monitoring process of data integrity, data drifts, and model performance issues. So let's take an example. Let's take a logistics company that has a handful of models that potentially decide routing decisions of where which carrier particular package would be taken by, and how long would it take, and how to optimize that route. The models that are powering this whole process tend to be very volatile to the changes in data. So if the data quality drops, if there are a bunch of missing values in the inputs into the model, prediction accuracy will degrade. Or if some kind of behavior changes, especially in the logistics world, we're seeing a lot of changes in how our supply chain operates. And to the machine learning model, that's an example of data drift. So when that happens, the accuracy of the model will degrade because it would see behaviors in the supply chain that it hasn't been trained on. So what we do for these teams is we automate the process of watching how healthy is the data that powers the model, how consistent or volatile is the data that powers these models, and how does that affect the model performance and ultimately the customer experience. And we give data scientists and ML engineers tools to investigate and root cause issues or changes in the model behavior. And our goal is to minimize their time to resolution and ultimately to ensure that their models are realizing the impact that they were designed to do.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
Focusing now on the team that you've assembled at WhyLabs, obviously MLOps as a function in itself is really only around the last 2 years or so. And a lot of the work that you're doing is MLOps linked with organizations who may not have even realized they needed MLOps support. So you've had to bring in backgrounds and expertise who historically would not have had MLOps experience per se, but they understand the problem. How have you gone about building your technology team? What are the backgrounds that you've brought together, and what's it like day to day to be part of the tech team at WhyLabs?
I think it's fascinating. It's probably the most dynamic environment that any of us have ever worked at, myself for sure. Our team is fairly unique. As you pointed out, MLOps is a fairly new field, and nobody can really call themselves an MLOps expert because it's so new. So the way we've gone about our team, I would say, if I had to describe it with one word, is intentional. We, in the end of the day, are building a very specific kind of technology. It really boils down to the knowns and the unknowns and what observability system looks like. The knowns are observability system has to operate with really large volumes of data, process really large volumes of data on behalf of our customers. Observability in the very basic sense of things is a time series problem. So we need to have experts in time series and anomaly detection and forecasting. And then observability is a user experience. So we need to have experts in software design, user-centered design, and front-end application building. So our team is essentially composed of those experts. We have amazing people who came from both large organizations and startups who specialized in building user experiences, specialized in building massively distributed data warehouse and data processing solutions, and specialized in building forecasting solutions and anomaly detection solutions. And then there's the unknown part, which is, what does observability for AI really mean? What type of telemetry are we watching? And essentially, we're watching the vitals of your machine learning system and trying to catch anomalies in these vitals. So we're continuously inventing what we need to watch or what we can watch, inventing together with our users. So there's a chunk of the WhyLabs team that is focused on essentially figuring out what does it mean to have observability for AI applications. And that team is, that part of the team is data scientists and machine learning engineers. So a very unique team, and it's incredibly hard to build a team like this. Ultimately, we're looking for people who are very passionate about solving the problem of robust and responsible machine learning operations, people who have a lot of background in large-scale data processing, and a lot of desire for inventing and creating something new and building something very meaningful.
So, Alessya, I want to spend a bit of time now talking about what's next. Obviously, your business is, still relatively new, an evolving space where you're really an early adopter to solving a problem which many people don't realize even exists yet. But if you were to look ahead and look into your own crystal ball, what do you see as the next iterations of the journey for WhyLabs? What are you most excited about, and where do you think the team and the company will be in 1 to 2 years from now?
And break it down into two things. One is our overarching goal, which is building interfaces that help human operators operate machine learning and AI technology. And here, what's important to zoom into is these operators come from all kinds of organizations, big and small teams. So it's really important to, say, democratize this technology, to make this technology accessible to anybody who is putting machine learning applications in front of users and putting machine learning applications to a point where they're automating business decisions. And a lot of what we do at WhyLabs focuses on that through open source libraries, through self-serve and free offering of our platform. So the future, this part of the future for us is to continue making these tools available and continue making these tools generic enough to solve a wide range of problems. And we do that again through making the technology available to every user and really listening to the users, understanding their challenges, and continuously iterating. And that feeds into more of the aspect of what types of features are we building and what is exciting. And I think today, listening to the users that we have, some of the most important things for us to accomplish as a company is to continue making this technology very adaptable. So some of the things that we're building is ensuring that you can enable observability for models that operate not just on structured data, but on all kinds of unstructured data, on conversational agents, audio models, video models, and so on. We are continuously growing the set of integrations that we have because, again, that's one way we can make this platform useful and available for everyone. We're integrating to some of the most important data engineering systems like Ray and Kafka, and really making our technology ubiquitous within these systems. And then as far as very concrete features go, some of the things that I'm really excited about are incorporating explainability into how you do root cause analysis once you have identified that there is an issue. And explainability is a whole new kind of space within the MLOps realm that overlaps heavily with academic research, and there is a lot of innovation that will happen there in the next few years. So again, to summarize, we're super focused on the mission of making this technology available to all users. And really for us, the future is listening to what makes the biggest difference and how easy it is to operate machine learning and how reliable machine learning technology is, and building the features up in our product and making them available.
Alessya, final question from me then, staying on the topic of what's next for WhyLabs. When you look ahead, what sort of hires are you going to need to make? What opportunities are there going to be for people to come and join WhyLab? And part two of that question is, when you're speaking to candidates about WhyLabs who you think could be a good fit, what is it that you tell them about the mission that gets them excited to join?
So I'll start with answering the first question, which is what types of opportunities and roles we're looking to bring onto the company. And we're growing very rapidly. We're a team of 25 people, which is going to be 30 by the end of the month, which is going to be 40 by the end of Q2. So we're growing and adding roles across basically every type of engineering practice, data engineering, front end, back end, DevOps, data scientists, machine learning engineers, and then on our go-to-market side, the sales team is growing and the marketing team is growing, technical evangelism, and so on. So really, it's across the board, which brings me to answering the second question: what is exciting about what we're doing at WhyLabs and why do people join us? And I think there's obviously the mission, which I think is very meaningful. You're embarking on a very important journey of building the tools that will empower us to use the most important technology of the century in a robust and reliable way. I joke with my grandma that I'm basically working really hard to prevent all kinds of Terminator scenarios in our society. So that's very meaningful, and that's a big and important kind of mission for some people who join. Another aspect is at WhyLabs, we essentially work with data science and ML teams from some of the biggest organizations, both for Fortune 100 and Fortune 500, and some of the most innovative AI startups. And we get to see how they're applying machine learning and AI technology to advance their business and to power the best customer experiences. So by working at the company, you're essentially staying on the very edge of what is possible with machine learning, not in the academic sense, but in the practical sense. You get to see what types of experiences are possible to build and how to advance the technology stack in order to build more of these experiences and ultimately improve how we rely on this technology as the world, because it really powers every aspect of your life. So I think for everybody from engineers to product marketers, that the idea of seeing how AI technology powers different businesses on their day-to-day is really powerful and is a big reason why people join.
Perfect way to finish a great interview. Thank you so much, Alessya. I appreciate you coming on today. WhyLabs sounds amazing. It's great to hear about you having the idea and seeing the market need and truly being an early adopter. And all signs point to this being a huge subsection of AI. You've built a great team and it's growing fast, clearly, and it sounds like a fun place to be. We wish you, the team, and everyone at WhyLabs the best of luck in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, JP.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.